Welcome back to Language Access Academy. We are diving right back into our medical terminology journey, and today we are focusing on the letter R. There are some incredibly important terms in this section, from radiology to respiratory care, so let's get right into it. Starting us off is rabies, an infectious viral disease that primarily affects animals. It can be transmitted to humans through an infected animal's bite, and if left untreated can result in paralysis and death. Radial keratotomy is a surgical procedure for correcting nearsightedness. During this procedure, tiny cuts are made in the cornea to change its shape and focusing properties. Radiation refers to a variety of types of energy, such as X-rays and ultraviolet light. When we use this energy medically, it is called radiation therapy, which is the treatment of a disease such as cancer, using forms of radioactivity to damage or destroy abnormal cells. Radical surgery is the treatment of disease by surgically removing all tissue that is, or may be, affected by the condition. Radiculopathy refers to any disease of the nerve roots. It can be caused by a disc prolapse, arthritis, and other problems. A radioallergosorbent test is a specific blood test performed to help determine the cause of an allergy by detecting the presence of antibodies to various allergens. Radiography is the formation of images of the inside of the body using radiation projected through the body and onto film. You probably know a radiograph by its common name, an X-ray. Radionuclide scanning is an imaging technique in which a radioactive substance is introduced into the body and its emitted radiation is detected. Specific organs can be studied according to the amount of the radioactive substance they absorb. Moving to the skeletal system, the radius is one of the two long bones of the forearm, located on the thumb side of the arm. Radon is a colorless, odorless, and tasteless radioactive gas that is produced by materials in the soil, rocks, and building materials. It is suspected of causing cancer. If a doctor listens to a patient's breathing and hears abnormal crackling or bubbling sounds in the lungs, those are called rales. A rash is simply an area of inflammation or a group of spots on the skin. Raynaud's disease is a condition in which the fingers and toes become pale when exposed to cold or emotional stress. This happens due to a sudden narrowing of the arteries that supply them with blood. In neurology, a receptor is a nerve cell that responds to a stimulus and produces a nerve impulse. It also refers to the area on the surface of a cell that a chemical must bind to in order to have its effect. In genetics, a recessive gene is a gene that does not produce its effect when it occurs with a dominant gene. It produces its effect only when there are two copies of it present. Reconstructive surgery is surgery performed to rebuild a part of the body that has been damaged or has been defective from birth. A rectal prolapse is the bulging of the lining of the rectum through the anus, usually due to straining during a bowel movement. The rectum itself is a short tube located at the end of the large intestine, which connects the intestine to the anus. A red blood cell is a donut-shaped blood cell that carries vital oxygen from the lungs to body tissues. In orthopedics, the reduction of a fracture is the medical term for the realignment of the broken ends of a bone. Referred pain is pain felt in a part of the body remote from the actual site where the pain originates. A reflex is an automatic, involuntary response of the nervous system to a stimulus. Reflux esophagitis is the backflow of gastric acid from the stomach to the lower esophagus, owing to a defect in the valve that separates them. Regurgitation is the backflow of fluid. This can refer to food and drink flowing back up from the stomach into the mouth, or it can refer to blood flowing back into the heart through a defective heart valve. Rehabilitation is a treatment for an injury or illness aimed at restoring physical abilities. Rehydration is a treatment for dehydration, an abnormally low level of water in the body. Levels are restored by taking fluids containing water, salt, and glucose by mouth, or if the dehydration is severe, through a vein. Reiter's syndrome is a disorder characterized by the inflammation of the joints, the urethra, and sometimes the conjunctiva of the eye. A relapse is the return of a disease or symptom after it had previously disappeared. On the other hand, remission is the temporary disappearance of a disease or its symptoms, either partially or completely. It also refers to the time period in which this disappearance occurs. REM sleep stands for rapid eye movement sleep, which is the stage of sleep in which dreaming occurs. Now let's look at a few terms starting with renal, which means related to the kidneys. Renal cell carcinoma is the most common type of kidney cancer. Renal colic is severe pain on one side of the lower back, usually as a result of a kidney stone. Renal tubular acidosis is the inability of the kidneys to remove sufficient amounts of acid from the body, making the blood more acidic than normal. Renin is an enzyme that plays a role in increasing low blood pressure. A repetitive strain injury is an injury that occurs when the exact same movement is repeated continuously. The reproductive system refers to the organs and structures that allow men and women to have sexual intercourse and produce children. A resection is the partial or complete surgical removal of a diseased organ or structure. Respiration is the process by which oxygen is taken in and used by tissues in the body, and carbon dioxide is released. Let's look at several terms related to this process. A respirator is simply another term for a ventilator. Respiratory arrest is an emergency condition in which a person suddenly stops breathing. Respiratory distress syndrome is a condition experienced after an illness or injury damages the lungs, causing severe breathing difficulty and resulting in a life-threatening lack of oxygen in the blood. Respiratory failure is the failure of the body to exchange gases properly, which leads to a buildup of carbon dioxide and a lack of oxygen in the blood. And the respiratory system encompasses all the organs that carry out the process of respiration. Your resting pulse is your pulse rate when you are not experiencing any physical activity or mental stress. A reticulocyte is an immature red blood cell. Moving to the eyes, the retina is the membrane lining the inside of the back of the eye. It contains light-sensitive nerve cells that convert focused light into nerve impulses, making vision possible. Retinal artery occlusion is the obstruction of an artery that supplies blood to the retina, resulting in some degree of temporary or permanent blindness. Retinitis pigmentosa is the gradual loss of the field of vision, owing to degeneration of those light-sensitive nerve cells. A retinoblastoma is a hereditary cancerous tumor of the retina affecting infants and children. A retinoid is a substance resembling vitamin A that is used to treat skin conditions such as acne and has been reported to reduce skin wrinkling. Retinopathy is any disease or disorder of the retina. It usually refers to damage caused by high blood pressure or diabetes mellitus. Retinoscopy is a method of determining focusing errors of the eye in which light is shined through the pupil, and the reflected beam is measured. Retroviruses are a group of viruses that are made up of RNA instead of DNA. This group includes HIV and the virus that causes T-cell leukemia. Ray's syndrome is a rare disorder mainly affecting those under 15 years of age. It is characterized by brain and liver damage following a viral infection such as chickenpox or the flu, and it may be linked to taking aspirin to treat those viral infections. The Rh blood group is a classification of whether substances called rhesus or Rh factors are present on the surface of red blood cells. This is the positive or negative designation in blood classification, such as being O negative. Rheumatic fever is a disorder that follows a throat infection by Streptococcus bacteria and causes inflammation in body tissues. Rheumatoid arthritis is a condition in which joints in the body become inflamed, stiff, painful, and sometimes deformed because the body's own immune system attacks the tissues. Rheumatoid factors are antibodies present in about 80% of people with rheumatoid arthritis. Detecting them through blood testing helps diagnose the disorder. Returning to Rh factors, Rh immunoglobulin is a substance used to prevent a woman who is Rh incompatible with her fetus from becoming Rh sensitized. Rh incompatibility is a condition in which a pregnant woman's Rh factor does not match that of the fetus. This can lead to the mother producing antibodies that destroy the fetus's red blood cells. If a woman with a negative Rh factor develops these permanent antibodies against Rh-positive blood due to exposure to her fetus's blood, she is considered Rh sensitized. This can cause fetal hemolysis in subsequent pregnancies. Rhinitis is the inflammation of the mucous membrane lining the nose, which can cause sneezing, a runny nose, congestion, and pain. When this is caused by substances in the air, it is called allergic rhinitis or hay fever. Rhinophima is a bulb-shaped deformity and redness of the nose as a result of severe rosacea. Rhinoplasty is surgery that changes the structure of the nose, either to improve its appearance or to correct a deformity or injury. The rhythm method is a natural method of preventing pregnancy in which a couple does not have sexual intercourse during the days of the menstrual cycle, when fertilization can occur. Riboflavin is a vitamin belonging to the vitamin B complex that is important in many processes in the body and helps to maintain healthy skin. Rickets is a childhood disease in which bones lack calcium and are deformed as a result of a vitamin D deficiency, since vitamin D helps the body absorb calcium. Rigor mortis is the stiffness that occurs in the body after death. Ringworm is a skin infection caused by a fungus that spreads out in an even circle, characterized by ring-like, scaly patches of red skin. Rin's test is a test that uses a tuning fork to diagnose hearing loss, resulting from poor conduction of sound from the outer to the inner ear. RNA stands for ribonucleic acid, which helps to decode and process the information contained in DNA. Rocky Mountain spotted fever is a rare disease transmitted to humans through the bites of ticks. It is characterized by small pink spots on the wrists and ankles that spread to other parts of the body, become larger and bleed. Rosacea is a skin disorder characterized by patches of red skin on the nose and cheeks, along with acne-like bumps. It most commonly occurs in middle-aged women. Roseola infantum is a common disease in young children characterized by a sudden fever and a rash. The rotator cuff is a structure made up of 4 muscle tendons that reinforces the shoulder joint. A roundworm is a group of worms that includes many of the major human parasites. Rubella is a mild viral infection, also known as German measles, that produces a rash and fever. It is very dangerous when it infects a woman during the early stages of pregnancy, as it can spread and cause birth defects in the fetus. Rubeola is simply another medical term for measles. And finally, to close out the letter R, a rupture is a tear or break in an organ or tissue.